All right, welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Chasing Ghosts. This is the video series that I do where I talk about those hard to find, those impossible to find, those books you just don't see on the wall at your LCS or, in a glass case, even at, your shop near you, and sometimes not even at most shows. Granted, there may be copies online, but they're usually few and far between, and in many cases, pretty pricey. That being said, I figured this is a fun series just so we can all take a look at them to see, what prices some of these books are going for. Why are they hard to find? And, and whatever. That being said, hopefully you're enjoying this series as well as the other content I'm putting out here on Rennavision. If you are, please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss any of the content. We still have new shows coming out. I'm trying out a few more things. One new thing this week that's kind of spinning out of this particular video that I'm doing right now. And I'll get to more of that in a little bit. But that being said, if you want to know about this week's books, just hang on for a sec, and I'll be right back after the intro. All right, so this week's show doesn't have much of a theme. I don't have like a running theme. It's not like a Star Wars special or anything like that. But I do have a few books that just kind of caught my eye and got me thinking about that I just want to talk about. And the first one being this issue of Ultimates #1. This is from 2016. This is a 1 in 50 incentive variant done by R. Adams, and it is just gorgeous. I dig this cover. I don't yet have one of these in my collection. I've been looking for one that I could afford, and I haven't, found that copy that could be mine just yet. It's just, things just haven't lined up, but I just really dig this cover. I mean, it gives a kind of a sense of scope and scale to Galactus that you don't often see when you just have him in, in the space, the void of space, like being here down on the ground level gives him that, that grandiose kind of feeling, which I hope we get in the MCU one of these days, and not some giant smoke cloud monster coming to devour the earth, because I don't know, that's just boring to me. That being said, the Ultimates, this is a great series and one that I hope that we get some form of adaptation going forward. It's a great team. It's a great read. So this is one I do recommend, just the regular copies. It has nothing to do with this incentive or how hard to find it is. I really dig the Ultimates, so I suggest you check it out. I think I covered it on a back issue backlog way back. But that being said, estimated print run on this book, this issue #1, was a little over 61,000. So it wasn't a small print, but it was a new series of a big team, featuring Captain Marvel, Black Panther, and some newer characters like the Blue Marvel, Adam, the Blue Marvel, and America Chavez, and what have you. But this being a 1 in 50 on a 61,000 print run will give you a little over 1,200 copies for the incentive. Potentially. Again, these are not concrete numbers. These are all estimates, and we're just doing that basic math of a 1 in 50. That's not how it works exactly, so we can't say any of these numbers are concrete, but it just gives us a kind of an idea, a general feeling of what might be out there. So 1,200 seems to be like it might be the top end of available copies, but at other times when you look, it feels like it's much less, because this is not an easy book to find. We look at the census for this thing, and as I said, there's only 29. Only 29 in the census, which is pretty low if there's 1,200 of these things out there. I mean, 19 9/8s and 8 9/6s, and then a couple others. I mean, that's not a lot at all for this, again, gorgeous 1 in 50. I mean, it's, again, high incentive, so not a lot of places would have gotten a hold of this book when it came out, but there it is, 29 in the census as of right now. If you're looking to buy one right now, there are a few out there. There's a good number out there. We got a run here that'll take you anywhere for like $2,500 for a 9/8 asking price to some raws in the $350 range, $300 range, and there's 9/6s. You can find for cheaper down there in the $300+ range. It's prices are all over the place, but there are a few options out there if you are willing to spend. But again, $300 is the cheapest for a raw copy, and that's just a little bit pricey for me, so I haven't acted as of yet. Now, we want to look at what actually sold so we get a sense of what the market is on this thing. In the last 3 months, we've got 3 sales. A best offer, looks like under $200. Auction once got snuck for 63.81. I would have been all over that had I been paying attention, but I missed it. It was early August. I was kind of busy. But coming from the UK, there was high shipping, so that actually ended up being closer to $100, but still not awful. And then back in July, there was a best offer on 122, $122, also from the UK. It seems to be a lot of UK copies, and even that first copy is from Canada. So all three in the last 3 months have been from out of the States, which it's kind of interesting when you look at it that way. But that's the first book that I wanted to kind of talk about because it's Galactus. I still have high hopes for Galactus and Silver Surfer coming to the MCU, but hey, we'll see. We'll see if that ever happens. And speaking of the MCU, I didn't make it out to the theaters this past weekend, though I wanted to. Had a couple of chances to, but just was too busy. I just couldn't squeeze it into the schedule, so my wife and I couldn't make it to the theater to go check out Shang Chi, which I've been always saying Shang Chi forever, but apparently it's Shang Chi. So Shang Chi, I didn't get to see it, but apparently it broke some records this weekend. And I'll probably talk about it a little bit more with Marco on Wednesday. But like 90 million, I think was estimate for the weekend for Labor Day, which ain't half bad considering we are in the midst of a pandemic still, and a lot of showtimes are limited. A lot of people aren't going to the theater, but without there being at home option, because if there was, I definitely would have watched it. I missed it so far, but. That being said, there's still a couple of books I wanted to talk about in relation to The Master of Kung Fu, one of which is right here sitting next to me. I love this cover. I'm a big Bruce Lee fan as well, so that is also partly why I like, Shang-Chi, The Master of Kung Fu. It's because, Bruce Lee, Kung Fu. I took karate as a kid. I just love this stuff. So this Enter the Dragon, type homage here on this Avengers World #3 is just a cover I just had to add to my collection, and I'm glad I got one. Now, this book is, again, it's a high incentive variant for this title. It's a 1 in 50. Came out in February of 2014. And again, it's an off Avengers title, so it's not quite as heavily ordered as the main title, but still was no small number. I mean, it was literally just under 40,000 for the estimated print run on this thing. So if you do that quick math on a 1 in 50 incentive, you got maybe 800 copies of this, which is not a lot. It's definitely not a lot for this book. Anytime there's something like under 1,000 for an incentive, I start to, my ears prick up a little bit and go, "Ooh, really? That seems like a little bit." Considering how many collectors there are out there, this is how many copies there are to go around. And I actually do have a couple of these. But that being said, what's in the census for this? Small number here as well. Only 15 total in the census. 998s, 596s, and a 94 is all we got. I actually tried submitting this copy to CGC, pre-screen 9.8. They declined it, so I'm guessing this is probably a 9.6. I don't know. I'll probably send it my next batch with no pre-screen and see what they give me. Who knows? Maybe it'll be like that Ms. Marvel 8, and I'll get a 9.8, even though they said no the first time. Persistence sometimes can be your friend, but we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, I'm just happy to have the copy that I do have, and I think I have an extra one floating around here somewhere. That being said, what do we got listed for sale on this one? Now, this one actually does have a few out there that you can buy if you are shopping. Now, we can be talking about $400 9.8s or about $150, $165 raws. There's another $460 9.8. And then we can move over to yet another batch that's still out there. But these 9.8s, $525, still $150, $180, $250 for those raws. Still not cheap for this 1 in 50. And I do have, I think, 2 more. So there's 10 copies that I found when I was searching. $175 and $350 raw. So prices are all over. It's basically 9.8 can go anywhere from like $400 to $500, and then the raws are anywhere in that $150 to $350 range. So condition sensitive, obviously, but not a cheap book. So if you find one, you can count yourself lucky because it's getting pricier as the days go by. And if we look at what actually sold, there were a few. I got a few, but a lot of these aren't quite that high of those asking prices. I mean, look, auction, $50 with 10 bids. Best offer on $110. Auction, $65 with 14 bids. Buy it now at $100. An auction with 6 bids for $101. So this thing's been had for $50 to $100 over these last couple of months, the ones that actually got purchased, which ain't half bad for a 1 in 50. Just saying, it's not the easiest book to find, and it's a really cool cover. I know a lot of this is probably some of the lead in to, the movie coming out. So will this hang or will this, start to drop? Who knows? Well, I mean, we'll see what happens over these next couple of months, but this is definitely one to keep an eye on for sure. Now, with that being said, I did have one more because he doesn't have a lot. He definitely does not have a lot of incentive variants, not counting his recent Marvel series, because then you're getting overly produced like variants. We're getting like, oh, we got to give you 110 different covers and store variants to boot. Not talking about those. I'm going back into those, the 20 teens, the 2010s, whatever you want to call it, that decade of incentive variants, which is, something I like to look at. It was just a different time and a different period for comic book collecting. So I don't know. That's what I'm looking at. And there was another, this one was Secret Avengers, but another Avengers variant that had Shang Chi, the Master of Kung Fu on the cover. And this is Secret Avengers number 18. This is a David Aja cover. I just dig it for some reason. I just love the three colors. I've said it before. The black, white, and red is just in his hands. It's just phenomenal. I love this kind of like photo negative, kind of blurry kind of vibe going with this thing, and the duplication of it. I just makes me think of like a film strip that's kind of like skipping while we're looking at it. I don't know. I just kind of dig it. It's got that old school kind of vibe, that, Saturday afternoon kung fu movie kind of thing going. But this was a 1 in 20 that came out in October of 2011. And it's definitely a book that you can find out there. I mean, once we go over these numbers, you'll see why. Estimated print run on this one's a little bit more than that Avengers World. It was a little over 43,000. So when we look at it, that Avengers World was a 1 in 50, whereas this David Aja is only a 1 in 20. So that would give us an estimated 2,100 plus copies. 2,100 plus is a little bit more than 800. So this is what we're talking about. There's a lot more copies out there available. I actually have found a couple of these, and I found them for relatively cheap at the time. Now, this book is starting to go up a little bit as of late, but there are copies of this out there. But when we look at the census, there's not much. Not a lot of people like to get this thing graded, though. Only 598s in the census, and that's it. So with however many copies are floating around out there, not many got themselves slabbed. Now, speaking of this plethora of books that are available, let's look at what's out there. And right now, there's a few. I got a few we can talk about. Anywhere from $10, $60 raw, $75 raw, 50. For a 1 in 20, not too bad. Prices are kind of, like I said, rising up just a little bit there. And then we can see there's even more. $44. What is that? $26, $85, $45, all raw. Because, like I said, only 5 in the census. We don't have slab copies really out there on that market. But that's plenty of copies. That was like 9 or 10 or so, thereabouts. And we look at what actually sold for this. Story's kind of the same. There's a $10 one right there. I would be looking into that. And if you saw on my screen, I was actually watching it, even though I have a couple of copies, still kind of looking at it. $18 at auction, a couple of buy it nows for like $40, and a best offer on $45. Copies have been moving. And as you can see, I got a whole nother page of sales. So we got another 5 sales here. Best offer on about $52. Auction at $37 with 21 bids there. Best offer on $80. Buy it now at just under $50. Buy it now at $35. Definitely a book that has had a decent number of sales. I know that seems like a lot for what we do here, because that was maybe 10 sales and 10 available. But over the span of 3 months, that's still not really a lot when you really think about things. Like for some of the other books, like the new Wednesday hot books, like how many copies sell in a day. This is over a span of 3 months. So 10 copies selling, is that really a ton? No, but is it a ghost? That remains to be seen. That being said, I still have one more book, and it actually is tied to this Secret Avengers series, Secret Avengers, run from 2010 that started in 2010 that just really got me thinking. And while not all of these books, as I kind of am talking about this one, may or may not be considered ghosts, there's still a lot of variants that I actually do want to talk about and do want to look into a little bit more. So that got me kind of my wheels spinning just a little bit and thinking of another potential show idea that I'm going to try out this Thursday. Last Thursday, I tried out the Artist Spotlight, the Artist Retrospective. Got good feedback on that. Looking forward to doing another one of those soon. Definitely going to work that into the rotation in some fashion. I liked it. Going to tweak it maybe a little bit, but going to move forward doing more of those. But now, while I'm still pushing Forgotten First, maybe one more week, I'm going to work in this working idea of forgotten variants. It's just variants that a lot of people aren't looking for or talking about. And this run of Secret Avengers in particular had a bunch of interesting variants, like 1 in 15 incentive range and a little bit more, 1 in 25s. And there's like a 1 in 30 and some 1 in 75s actually. So there's some variants in this run that I found interesting that may not fit any of my other categories that I still want to talk about. So you know what? I'm going to do a little special thing this Thursday, so keep an eye out for it. It's going to be called Forgotten Variants right now. That's what I'm working with right now. Forgotten Variants. Going to just do a run of variants and just see how it goes. So tell me what you guys think once we hit that up. Promo aside, shameless self-promotion aside, let's get to our last book, which, as I said, comes from the same run of Secret Avengers that I'm also going to be looking at on Thursday. And this is Secret Avengers number 19, the next issue in the series. This is another topic that I'm going to want to hit in a little bit too. Maybe I might do this for next week's Chasing Ghosts. This is the Marvel 50th anniversary incentive run. Like, there was a bunch of titles that came out for the Marvel 50th anniversary. They were all 1 in 50 incentives, and they are all homages to other books. So as you can see here, this is obviously, new X-Men 114, the Grant Morrison, the start of the Grant Morrison, Frank Quitely run that they did here on this Secret Avengers cover. And I dig it. I definitely dig it. I think Larry Stroman did this one, if I'm not mistaken, but there was a whole run of these. So I'm going to cover maybe some of the harder to find ones, maybe next week's Chasing Ghosts. That's my working idea for that as well. So I'm giving you some teases of what's coming. But let's wrap up and talk about this book before we talk about what's coming next. This book, as I said, is a 1 in 50 incentive. And this was the next month, following that last Secret Avengers 18 with the Shang Chi cover. So November 2011 on this one, 1 in 50 incentive. Print run, pretty close. It's pretty close to what was, the month before, but a little bit down. So just over 41,000 for the month of, November. That would make this 1 in 50 incentive, however, instead of being like 2,200, it's only a little over 800. So it's similar to that 1 in 50 that we have here for the Avengers World, the first Shang-Chi cover we talked about. So 823 copies on this guy. Definitely not a huge number, and definitely not a book you see out there a lot. I haven't seen this in a shop. I don't remember seeing this one in the wild personally, but definitely been looking for it now and recently. 22 copies in the census, including a 9.9. Yes, there's 199. That's something you rarely see, especially with variants, but a 9.9 for this thing. And then 19 9.8s, a 9.6, and a 9.4, and that's it. 22 in the census. So definitely not a ton. What's out there if you're shopping? Well, if you're shopping right now on eBay, you're looking at about $1,000 for a 9.8 or $600 for a 9.8, $550 for another one. And raws will run you anywhere from about $145 to $225. That's what's listed for sale in that first batch. And then there's a couple more out there, still in that $100 range, $199, $95, $90, $80 plus shipping. So $80 is the cheapest. And this is, again, 1 in 50 homage to that new X-Men cover. I think a lot of the other notable thing to happen in this issue, this is the first Mr. Knight costume for Moon Knight, I believe. So you're getting that suited look as opposed to the Batman cloaked kind of garb from Moon Knight. So if you think we're going to get a Mr. Knight in the Disney Plus series, this is also a book you might want to look into. Just the regular cover, or as part in addition to this 1 in 50, which is kind of tough to find. Yeah, just throwing that out there. But that's what's out to buy now if you were shopping. What's actually sold? Well, what's actually sold is only 2. We got a $95 sale for a raw and about $70 from the UK, which also had $27 shipping. So that's still in that $90 to $100 range. So this, we can comfortably say this is about a $100 book right now. That's what it costs. That's the cheapest out there really to buy. So you can say this is about a $100 book for this 1 in 50, which ain't too bad. I mean, it's a 1 in 50. It's harder to find. Prices could be much worse, but hey, they are what they are. Now, that being said, I dig it. I'm going to keep an eye out for it, but we'll see. We'll see how things shake out. Now, when I do my recap here, when we're thinking about the 4 books that I put out there today, will these all be considered ghosts? I thought about it, hemmed and hawed, and even debated with myself over is 10 copies a lot? Is 12 copies a lot? Like, what's my max? And it's just more of a vibe and more of a feeling. So it's a gut instinct. If you disagree with me, please let me know in the comments. I'm open to debate. You can tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you disagree. That's fine. But my call on this one is that's Secret Avengers number 18. And it's not just the 10 or 12 so copies available and the 10 or 12 copies sold. It's just the 2,100 plus available. The potential 2,000 plus copies make it feel, in addition with all those sales and available sales, hard to find. So that made me feel like more hard to find and not be able to call that one a ghost, which is also what led me to feel like I needed to create something new, which is why I'm going to be doing that Forgotten Variants series on this Thursday and just trying it out and see how things go. So that was my call for that one. As I said, I guess I'm settling in on the title Forgotten Variants, I did do a title card for already. I just didn't know how I felt about it, but that's going to be it for now. It's going to kind of be worked into the rotation if you guys like it. Now, the other 3 books, though, the Ultimates 1, Avengers World 3, even with all the copies out there, and that Secret Avengers 19, just those 1 in 50 incentives make those all kind of tough to deny. That, to me, these all still feel like ghosts. So that's going to be my call on those 3 books. Is I feel like those 3 books are all still ghosts. So again, if you disagree, let me know in the comments. I'm fine if I'm discussing it. Maybe you can change my mind. I don't know. I'm always open to change. And who knows? In a couple of months, this could be different. It could be a different list. It's all just based on what's moved in the last couple of months. It's kind of a moment in time. So as of right now, that's my call, and I'm sticking with it. Now, hopefully you enjoyed that and you're enjoying this series. If you are, please let me know by subscribe, hit the comments. Let me know in the comments. I like the good feedback as well. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I like a good feedback. So thanks for stopping by. I hope you're enjoying this. Look forward to that new show on Thursday, as well as the live show doing with Marco this Wednesday, and more stuff to come every day here on Rennavision. So I'll see you guys soon.